allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Limited public comment. This time, any member of the public wishing to address the committee may do so for up to 3 minutes. Good morning. If you could please speak clearly into the microphone.
My name is Mike Howard, and I'm representing Bay Point Inn. Bay Corp is seeking support of the Berry County Board of Commissioners to rezone 2 parcels that we own from rural residential to mixed use for future lodging. The strategic rezoning will blend perfectly with numerous contiguous properties already zoned mixed use or commercial, while acting in the spirit of the Berry County future land use map, urban planning, and the master plan. Bay Point is experiencing rapid growth with over 100,000 visitors annually. Although we're known for weddings, only 50% of our business is actually weddings. The remainder are diverse groups of corporate, educational, municipalities, financial, nonprofits, and social groups. Lodging is often at 100% capacity, including even last night on a Monday, we're at 100% capacity. So we often send our guests to other hotels that aren't located in Berry County. Bay Corp has secured majority support from the Orangeville Township Board and unanimous support from the Berry County, Wayland, Otsego, Plainwell area Chambers of Commerce. Also the Berry County Economic Development Alliance, the Gun Lake Business Association, and numerous Gun Lake area and Berry and Allegheny County businesses. Bay Corp currently employs 136 employees with an annual payroll exceeding $2 million. These employees and their families primarily reside and reinvest their earnings back in Berry County. We would expect to add 10 to 15 additional jobs as a result of this rezoning and subsequent lodging expansion. Bay Corp is the largest private employer and taxpayer in Orangeville Township. We contribute about $20,000 a month in property taxes and an additional $30,000 a month in sales and use tax to state and local governments. Bay Corp Inc. fully supports local businesses by spending hundreds of thousands of dollars annually purchasing equipment and supplies and services from local vendors, primarily in Berry County. This is to supply and support our food and beverage operations, heating and cooling, refrigeration, plumbing, painting, electrical repairs, maintenance, remodeling, and major and minor construction projects.
Mr. Powers, I would ask you to summarize your comments.
I'd like to summarize by saying that Bay Point supports a variety of local faith-based organizations, schools, charities, nonprofits, and businesses. In addition to purchasing local real estate, Bay Point transient guests, corporate and social clients spend hundreds of thousands of dollars annually at other Berry County and Gun Lake area merchants, supporting and enriching our local community. As a result, Bay Point contributes to our local residents' robust, vibrant, and dynamic lifestyle. And for these reasons, we humbly ask the Berry County Board of Commissioners approve rezoning of these 2 parcels from rural residential to mixed use. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there further public comment? We'll go with Mr. Perino and then the gentleman in the back. And
Nothing wrong with that.
Hi, my name is Bob Perino. I was employed by the Uptown Company for 34 years. And I retired to Gun Lake 20 years ago. I served as vice president of the GLPA. And then 16 years ago, I was elected as trustee of the Orangeville Board. And I stepped down and did not run in this past election. I mentioned the experience that I've had because the common thread of all these organizations is the willingness to change and accept expansion. Prior prior to Mike Powers, there was an initiative by a group of well-intended residents of Gun Lake who recommended that we buy the Bay Point and keep the building as is and mow the lawn. And when I asked them, where's the rest of your business plan, they said, that's it. And I kind of chuckled, and I said, that serves no purpose whatsoever. And it gives you an example of the willingness of people not to accept change. Now, Michael has made all the changes you could ask him to make. He improved security, he provided increased parking by buying property across the street. And we had a major problem, and as township, we couldn't address it, and that was trying to control traffic and parking with Conway Drive.
Mr. Perino, I will advise you that you have 1 minute left.
Okay? So he improved security, he's provided an increase in parking, he's accepted the ordinances on noise, he's installed fences, everything constructed has been immaculate. His staff, his teamwork are all first class. I strongly recommend that Mike Powers' request for the next zoning be accepted. And I thank you for your time and your attention.
Thank you for your comments. Gentleman in the back. If you could state your name and please speak directly into the microphone.
Joel Kaptein. I live on Winchester Drive right next door to Bay Point. I'd just like to point out to you guys that when he states he has overwhelming support from chambers of commerce and business associations, that's kind of a bummer. It's like saying, Budweiser and Miller support my plan to get a liquor license and sell beer. Barneville Township, they said they wanted money. I'd also like to point out to you that the properties to the east or south of his are rural residential. The properties to the north or west are mixed use. However, those properties, such as mine, on Winchester Drive, it's a private drive. They're 60 feet wide and 150 feet deep. The other properties, as you head up Marsh Road, Chateau Park #1, are 50 feet wide and 135 feet deep. These lots are so small because they are intended to be used by people coming to enjoy the lake. It's all houses, it's all families. His business is right smack in the middle of all our houses and our families. His venues are parties and couples. He's got 10 pounds of crap in a 5-pound area. He wants to keep putting more in. He'd take 15 or 20. And he just doesn't address the noise issues. His increased security did not stop 2 fights. It doesn't stop the loud music. Basically, they're parking. And I think they keep people from trespassing on the older Chester farm. So I'm just hoping you guys can see that the properties in that area are families. They're small and they're not meant for businesses to fit along in that area. I don't understand why it's mixed use. Whoever did that, it makes no sense to me.
Thank you for your comments. Is there further public comment? If you could speak closely to the microphone
Otherwise, it won't get recorded.
and please state your name.
Sure. My name is Wayne Bauman. I've been a resident of Berry County and Gun Lake for 35 years. Enjoyed my time out here in Michigan. I'm here to ask the commission to support the expansion long time. As a matter of fact, I was married at the original Bay Point 27 years ago, so I've been very familiar with the property and its transformation over the years. And it's actually been thrilling to watch what's been happening with it and what it's done for our community to bring people together. In fact, our two children have worked there as school-age kids, as many do, out of our local schools and communities, that they go work at the facility that our kids met. His future wife got that place. So, I've known Mike for 20 years, since he bought the property. Mike's been very engaging with us in the community. I'm one of the regulars. I go there quite often into the restaurant side of it. And there's a large group of us that Mike is always engaged to talk about his property and talk about the projects and the futures of the projects. He's been very open with the community, very supportive of the community for that. There's a lot of reasons to support expansion out there. It's an exceptionally well-run business. Mike has had pressures for certain things out there as far as size of parties and everything, and he's followed the rules. We have the right to grow businesses. We should support businesses that follow rules and don't create the issues. And when they do have issues, they correct the issues. Support our community for all the jobs that they provide in Berry County. When he talks about $2 million in payroll, that's significant numbers. We need to be supportive of things like that. Certainly Berry County needs the tax revenue. And the beauty of the type of expansion that I see it for this that he's looking for, to go add more rooms and resident areas, is that that's money that comes into Berry County from outside of Berry County. The people that will rent those places aren't from Berry County, so we're actually kind of making a little profit center within Berry County that we import money. And it's not just a transfer of money within Berry County. And I think that's a pretty important thing to look at.
I'll advise you have 1 minute left.
The location there is in the Berry County master plan to become a potential for the development. So I think it's already been envisioned where that type of property can go, and I think we should support it. So in summary, we got to support growth, especially for such well-run businesses that benefit our local communities and bring in the tax revenue that we so desperately need. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there further public comment?
Hi, my name is Julie Fox, and my husband and I own the Curly Cone, which is a diner, a full-service restaurant, ice cream shop, bakery in the Gun Lake area. First of all, I'd like to speak to the fact that I am a Gun Lake resident. We live on Hastings Point, and we enjoy visiting Bay Point. We feel, just from a customer standpoint, that it's very well run. I have been to multiple events at Bay Point, and never have I seen anything that would raise an eyebrow. So we are very proud that we have Bay Point here. But the one thing I wanted to speak to that I think is really significant is the fact that it is a destination location. Destination locations are rare. They are hard to build. They are important to everyone. People come from all over the country to visit Bay Point, whether it's a corporate event or whether it is a wedding, and those are dollars that would not be there. I own a business that fortunately we have stayed open even through COVID every single day of the year. We are the only ones, I believe, out there that are restaurants that has been able to do that. We have restaurants and businesses like ours have a double-edged sword out there. We're seasonal, so in the winter it's brutal to survive, and then you throw in something like COVID. Without a Bay Point, we couldn't do it. Some haven't been able to do it. So these destination locations that bring people in are critical to the fabric of a business environment, of a community. And they can't be taken lightly because there aren't a whole lot of them and they aren't easy to build. And once you start snuffing that out, it's hard to rebuild the momentum. So I would strongly encourage, from being a citizen of the Gun Lake area and also a business, to fully support this. They do a wonderful job and they are deserving. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there further public comment? And then we'll go to the individual in the back. Please speak close to the microphone and state your name.
Good morning. My name is Wade Poland. come to you to speak in favor of Bay Point's expansion from two different aspects. One is a resident, mostly lifelong resident other than my time in the military for the most part. Been a lifelong resident of Berry County and had frequented Bay Point when it was the original building and also in its current state. So in favor of that personally. I'm also a business owner, multiple business owner in Berry County. I own TTS Fitness with my wife Lori in Middleville, and we also own Trinity Training and Security, where we do and we provide the security for Bay Point, which seems to be a big topic of discussion. And I can assure you that when I sat down with Mike Powers in 2018, late 2017, to discuss the issues, that he is very concerned about following the rules, following the ordinances. He expressed that to me and my company, and we provided the security there for 4 years, and it's been an evolution as well. So some things, we have probably 12 people on staff. Most of that staff has worked there since 2018, since the beginning, so they're familiar with Bay Point, they're familiar with the issues. Most of them are law enforcement, military, do this part-time where they work for us. They're certified in CPR, AED, first aid. So, and that's our goal, is to provide quality service to Bay Point as they do this. We also get, so my son is currently probably, we'll say, heading up most of everything with Bay Point this year. He's 24 years old. He's worked there for the last 4 years as well. And some of the things that we've put in place are nightly logs. So we know who works at Bay Point every night before they leave.
You have 1 minute left.
Thanks. Every night before they leave, they're required to fill out a log. That log goes to myself every day. It goes to Bay Point every day, so we can see if there are any issues, and we can address those issues and make changes accordingly. Just like posting a speed limit sign, it doesn't mean people are not going to break that speed limit. So noise ordinances, I can assure you that if there's any noise issues, it doesn't mean that the noise won't happen, but it means that our guys will be there to address it. And if it happens again, we're going to be there to address it again. And then the patrons will have to be asked to leave Bay Point. I'm just very much in favor of this. I think that Mike has done everything that he's been asked along the way throughout the expansions, and I support this as well. So,
Thank you for your comments. Is there further public comment? Ma'am, if you could speak closely to the microphone and state your name.
My name is Linda Ruble, and I urge this Board of Commissioners to wait till you take up the county master plan and discuss in upcoming months before a decision is made on changing two parcels that Bay Point has requested to be changed to mixed use from rural residential. It's important to have a balance of types of zoning, and there's already plenty of mixed use in place now for such a very small area. Bay Point keeps taking and taking our rural areas away. When the woods was built 2 years ago, and now we want more. Where does it stop? Stop before it's too late and you have no more rural residential left. At the June Marshall Township meeting, Mike Powers was asked what his long-term plans were. He responded that he wants to continue buying land and increasing his size of business. This will be done at the cost of the residents. There is already a huge shortage of affordable housing, and buying up more and more, turning it into commercial property does not help our younger generation find homes to buy or land to build on. The current master plan calls for maintaining or new aesthetic, please keep this in mind. The commercialization of Gun Lake must slow down, and now's the time to slow that process and put things into perspective. Bay Corporation already owns 2 mobile home parcels north of the original parking lot on the west side of Marsh Road. And just wait until an elderly couple no longer can live in the house that's between that house and the mobile home parcels before it's turned into a commercial site also. All 3 of those parcels will be commercial. Is that really what is needed? All this for the almighty dollar. Both of the requested parcels are designated by the DNR as nor commercial concrete and asphalt.
You have 1 minute left.
Traffic noise and safety concerns are top priority, and U.S. County Commissioners have the ability to make informed decisions and protect us as longtime residents. Please protect the integrity of our established neighborhood community. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there further public comment? Please speak into the microphone and state your name.
My name is Elizabeth Bronson, and I reside on Ori Drive. My husband and I strongly oppose the rezoning of the 2 parcels on Ori Drive from rural residential to mixed use for several reasons. First, these parcels were zoned rural residential for a reason years ago, to help create family-friendly neighborhoods and bring community together. It was intended to create a culture that was safe for everyone in the area, and since Bay Point once has added on to Ori Drive, it has been everything but safe and quiet. With a recent FOIA request, we obtained the call count for the past year from Berry County Central Dispatch. Since February 2020, during the pandemic year, there was a combined call count of 39 calls. I did exclude the abandoned calls from 911 into dispatch for Bay Point Woods and Bay Point Inn. Several of these calls were for disorderly harassment, assault, larceny, and/or a suspicious situation, according to the dispatch records that we received. This is not what my husband and I signed up for when we bought our house back in 2016, well before Bay Point even owned the property next door. We thought we were buying a house in a quiet area next to a 3-acre lot that was filled with beautiful wildlife. Now I go out and I don't see any of that. It's been everything but quiet, especially on Wednesday nights during Gun Lake Live and weddings and receptions on the weekends. Secondly, with rezoning these parcels, it would allow Bay Point to change their mind on what they would like to put on these parcels. It could be a hotel or a cottage like they're proposing, or turn into a daycare, a bar, or a convenience store. It's a private road that should be left as is and should stay rural residential. The areas to the south of Ori Drive are all rural residential. The PUD that Bay Point Woods is on is also zoned rural residential according to the Berry County GIS map. Why do we need to add more mixed use to this area? As we all know, the Gun Lake Casino is rapidly growing. What impact will that have on Bay Point's business? When the casino starts holding events for weddings, receptions, company parties, and more, who wants to stay far away from the action when they can stay right there at the casino?
You have 1 minute left.
What will happen then to these cottages that are currently on the property? And imagine if more are added if these 2 parcels are rezoned. Will they slowly deteriorate as barn-themed weddings don't become a thing anymore? What happens 15, 20 years from now to these buildings in this area? Does the master plan really call for more mixed use and more commercial businesses in residential areas? Maybe this was acceptable years ago, but is it acceptable now? Does it fit with the culture of the area now and in the future? My husband and I asked that you consider the effects of rezoning these parcels would have on the neighboring properties. This will be detrimental to our property. According to the Berry County Zoning Ordinance, Section 101, Purpose and Intent, it states to promote and protect the public health, safety, and general welfare, and to promote healthful surroundings for family life in residential areas. Please consider this and listen to the guidance from the Planning Commission. We ask that you deny the rezoning of these parcels until the master plan has been reviewed and updated to make sure that you are doing what is needed and is in the best interest of the neighborhood.
Thank you for your comments. Is there further public comment? Please speak close to the microphone and state your name.
Hi, my name's Jim Fox. I live in Gun Lake, and I have exactly 2 minutes prepared for you, but my wife took most of my talking minutes already. So it'll be considerably shorter. So I've known Mike since I moved to the community. My wife and I are both business owners, multiple business owners in this community. And some of the things that we like about Gun Lake is the offerings that Mike has out there. He parallels, dovetails, all things that my wife and I try to duplicate in our businesses. We see that Mike is a brand ambassador, and what he does is always first class. Mike sets the bar high with employees, with staff, with vision. Those things should be applauded. We need more guys like Mike and other entrepreneurs in our marketplace to make these destination locations and spots on the map for families and surrounding businesses to all benefit. As my wife always says, when Mike's busy, we're busy. All of our businesses are that way. Mike also has celebrations, as we all know. Some of those are with parties, but there are also celebrations of life. There's life celebrations that I've witnessed, I've been firsthand at, and there's spiritual celebrations there as well. So all these things are great venues that Mike has provided with his venue, his vision, and so I also benefit from this because as Mike's business grows, my business grows. Mike's business and Gun Lake attractions bring more people to Green Lake. My values of my properties increase as well. So I have a vested interest, but that's why I invested in this area. And I just say that I'm supportive of Mike has what he's doing and has to pass this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Further public comment. Morning, David.
Good morning. My name is David Tripp. I am the attorney for Baycorp, but I'm also a resident of the Gun Lake area. I've lived there since 1974, and I've seen it grow and grow and grow. There are new subdivisions nearby. There are many, many houses that have been converted from cottages to full-time residences. With that comes the need for jobs. Mike has provided that, and Mike also, as he indicated, is one of the big taxpayers in Orangeville Township. What I think the commission should look at is your master plan. Your master plan says this is an urban planning area. So it's not designed to simply be residential, but the plan before and the plan currently is that it be urban area. This business is not a bar. This business is not, or the rezoning request is not to put a bar in or anything else. It's consistent with what's there now. What is there now are these cottages. They're simply going to add cottages. Mr. Powers has been very successful, and I think will make this, as it always has been, a first-class operation. To believe that we should wait a year or two for a new master plan, I don't think is going to show that the Gun Lake area is not going to grow. It's going to continue to grow, and it also needs businesses to support this area and support the local people. There are some, there is some opposition, but again, it's the same type of statements over and over again. We checked. There are no noise complaints in the last couple of years made through 911. So when they claim, oh, there's noise, well, every neighbor has some noise now and again, but I don't think it's substantial. So the fact that Bay Point draws dollars into Berry County, I think is very important. The few negative comments I don't think outweighs the financial success that he's had and he's brought to this county, the jobs that he's brought to this county and to the community. I'd say 90%, 99% of the residents around Gun Lake are in support of this or certainly are not opposed to this. So we would ask that you reconsider or decide that the rezoning should be granted. Everything to the north is mixed use. The PUD has the same use, and therefore we think this rezoning is consistent with the master plan. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Is there further public comment? Hearing none and without objection, we're going to take a 3-minute recess. The committee will come to order. At this time, we will conduct an interview for the Animal Shelter Advisory Board. We have 3 citizen at-large positions open, and we have 1 applicant. William Matson. Good morning, Mr. Matson.
Good morning.
Thank you for applying for the Animal Shelter Advisory Board. We're going to give you 2 minutes to introduce yourself, talk about who you are and what you would like to bring to the Animal Shelter Advisory Board. Then we're going to open it up for questions.
Absolutely. I go by Bill Matson. I'm originally from the state of Michigan, the Upper Peninsula, born and bred, went to college.
Oh, yeah?
At Lake Superior. I'm from the eastern end of the UP, so I didn't get into that Uper stuff. So, from Sault Ste. Marie. I've lived all over the country. The past 36 years of my life, I've led nonprofits or worked in nonprofits throughout the country. Here in Michigan, Florida, Southern California, and up in Alaska. I've served, one of my points that I like to do is serve on committees and commissions and other governmental bodies. While I lived in Lake Orion, I served on the Cable Commission for about 4.5 years. Cable Commission oversaw the cable in Orion Township and Lake Orion. For 7 years, I served on the Community Mental Health Board in Monroe County. I was one of 3 people brought into the CMH board in 2007 when the county commissioners found that they had a CMH board that was not effective. They could not decide on any business, and 3 new members were brought in, and we were able to build consensus. In the state of Alaska, I was asked by the governor's office to serve on the Mental Health Land Trust Board as I was exiting Alaska to come back to Michigan. Unfortunately, I didn't get to do that, but I was happy to be asked by the governor's office to serve on that board. What I would bring to a board here in the county is my experience in operational management, in the ability to build consensus and make sure that we stick to mission. And really that's the big thing. I'm here to serve. My first 18 years of work in nonprofits was with, at the time it was called Lutheran Social Services of Michigan, which is Samaritas now. And I guess I would say I'm really a servant leader, and I do a lot of things around service in the communities that I live in. I've lived in Barry County since the governor shut the state down last March. I moved 1 day prior to the shutdown order, and have lived here since. Currently, I took up a part-time position with the Family Support Center of Barry County as their program director, and have been effective in helping them secure a grant from the Michigan Health Endowment Fund. So that's pretty much up to date.
Very impressive. We're going to start with Commissioner Jackson, who sits on the ASAB. Commissioner?
Good morning, Bill.
Morning.
Thank you for your application. Couple questions for you. One is, do you have a connection with the animal shelter right now? Are you involved with them in any way, shape, or form?
I am not.
Humane Society?
Not here in Barry County. As I said, I moved recently, so I've been working on work, and I'm getting involved now.
Okay. I didn't know if you'd spent any time down there, if
No.
you've met our director, Ken Kirsch, or any of the people down there yet.
No.
Okay. Why the animal shelter?
Well, I applied for 3 boards, and once again, it's looking at service to the community. You know, one thing that would speak to me about the board, of course, I grew up in the UP. My father had a kennel. We raised German Shepherds when I was a young boy, so I have a tie to animals. And to see 3 vacancies, and to see that there has been a number of vacancies in that board for quite a while, it just said that they needed somebody to help out.
Okay. What are the other 2 boards you applied for?
I can't remember what they were. I was told that they didn't have openings for a at-large person, though. You know, if it was up to me, the board that would stick out in my mind, of course, would be the Community Mental Health Board, having 7 years of experience. But you know, it's good to be a part of the community and give back to the community.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate that, and appreciate your application for it. The Animal Shelter Advisory Board has hit some pretty calm waters lately. There was a lot of controversy over the years when they split it off from the sheriff's department and done some other things, but our director's doing a good job, and we're always looking for good minds to help us oversee and bring in new and inventive ideas for it. But the shelter just got a 100% on their review from the state, so that was very good, and we feel like we're in a good place, so always looking for good people to be on that board. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We'll go to Commissioner Campbell.
Good morning. I'd just like to say welcome to Berry County, first of all. I'm glad to have you here. And most of all, I appreciate your willingness to help in any way you can, no matter what the board is. It's very hard sometimes to find people with that attitude that you're willing to go where needed and not necessarily where you just particularly wanted to go. So appreciate it and welcome.
Thank you.
Commissioner Getty.
I wish Bruce and Dave wouldn't have stole my questions and comments. But I would echo especially Bruce's sentiment that I appreciate your willingness to serve and your experience with boards and finances, I'm sure would be a benefit. So thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Smelker.
I have no questions. I have no questions, but thank you very much for applying.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Gibson.
I have no questions. Thanks for applying. I'd like to see people apply for these boards, and that seems to be a hard board to fill up with the amount of people we're supposed to have on there. So thanks for applying.
You're welcome.
Vice Chair Connor.
Thank you. Yes, Bruce kind of stole my same comments.
Bruce.
But it is very unusual. We get people who apply for positions for where their passion is, be it people, be it animals, be it the Parks and Rec, whatever. But it's truly a servant that goes where he's needed. So I applaud you for that, and thank you for signing up and wanting to help. So welcome to Berry County. Appreciate it so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have asked the administration staff to get a list of vacancies for other boards that we have, so we're compiling that now. Because of your breadth of experience on multiple county boards, we're going to have a discussion on other areas that you could potentially serve.
Okay.
So while that is that okay with the board? We got a guy here that has, he's a veteran county appointee. This would be your third county getting appointed to the board?
That's correct.
So we're going to see where else we can have you serve if you're interested. So if there's no objection, the board will stand at ease until we get the paperwork back. Our administration staff, a list of vacancies, and in addition to the Animal Shelter Advisory Board, we have a partial Community Mental Health Board position. First of all, I have to ask, what are the board's wishes on appointing an individual to multiple boards at a committee of the whole? We haven't done that before in a while.
I think you need to appoint the person to the board that they put in for. And if they want to put in for another board, they're more than welcome.
Yeah. So do we keep an application for the CMH board if he wants to apply for that? Okay. So we have two positions on the Animal Shelter Advisory Board, a 2-year term and a 1-year term. So the board will vote on that today. Do you have a preference on how long you would like to serve?
Well, I would probably prefer the 2-year term, Mr. Chair.
And would you like to keep your would you like to us to keep your application and information and for the CMH position when that comes open?
Yes.
Okay. Great.
Is that a partial? Is someone resigned from that position, and it must be currently open? Who's on the mental health board?
Commissioner Getty, but she's new.
Talking to my supervisor, Linda Maupin, who is the chair of that, they did have somebody step down as of
Okay.
July.
Great.
And you did say that during your interview, he said that he would be interested, but there weren't any positions open when you.
Correct.
So we'll keep your application for the CMH board, and we'll put you down for an interview time. So
Okay.
at this time, the board has no further questions. We thank you for your willingness to serve, and we'll make a decision very soon.
Okay, thank you.
What are the board's wishes? Do we want to make a recommendation for appointment or skip ahead to Bay Point?
I would make the recommendation that we appoint William Mattson to the 2-year term for the Animal Shelter Advisory Board.
Second?
Motion by Jackson, supported by Connor, to recommend to the Board of Commissioners appointment of William Mattson to the Animal Shelter Advisory Board for a 2-year term that ends on December 31st, or that begins on December 31st, 2021. Is there discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Mr. McManus, at this time, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners denial of map change A22021 from rural residential to mixed use in Section 5 of Orangeville Township. Before you give your presentation, I want to clarify the process for the board. The Planning Commission makes recommendations to the Board of Commissioners, and sometimes those are denials. 99% of the requests that we get to the Committee of the Whole is a recommendation to approve. But because of the way our Planning Commission works, sometimes we get different requests. So the Planning Commission unanimously voted to deny this request or recommend denial. And that's what we're voting on, whether to ratify their decision. Jim, I'll let you describe what this is. Then we'll turn it over to Vice Chair Connor. You can just share what the sentiment of the Planning Commission was.
Sure. So first of all, I'd like to thank all the folks that made public comment today that they focused on the rezoning request. The meeting itself had 2 components to it, one of which was a laundry facility. That is a site plan review process that is only handled by the Planning Commission. The rezoning request is something that you as a Board of Commissioners need to take action on one way or the other. And the recommendation was made to you to deny that request.
Hold on. The clerk has just advised me that we do need somebody to entertain the motion, to make the motion. Second it. Commissioner Connor. That motion is made by Commissioner Smelker, supported by
Connor?
Commissioner Connor. Please proceed.
So the only action that you're worried about today is just the rezoning request for the 2 parcels that are adjacent to the Bay Point Woods on the south side of Ori Drive. The Planning Commission held a public hearing. That is their responsibility. And then to make a recommendation to the Board of Commissioners, the Board of Commissioners finalizes it as a legislative act because a map change is a change to the law, in essence, that you're creating a new zoning district. So the recommendation was to deny that change. And I'm here to answer any questions that you might have regarding the process.
We'll open it up to questions from commissioners. Any questions?
I will have some. Does Commissioner Connor want to go first, being on that board?
He pretty much covered, I mean, we, to just address this issue, it was, I think Commissioner Snow started the comment period during the Planning Commission, and it was unanimous down the board. Earlier in the year, we had another request for zoning, and that also had a lot of residents there. It was the one on the Conservancy where they had some set aside for natural resources, and they were building a small rural subdivision there. So, but we had lots of public comment. So we're getting a lot of public in, and I think that our master plan is 13 years old. And I think we need to, we know we need to change it. We should have started it before. We had a recession and then COVID, but Jim assures me that we're on track to get that going this year yet. So, and I know that it is a timely process, but I really think that we need input from the residents because it's their plan. You know, they live there, they work there, whatever. But we have locals, we have electeds, and we need to get that master plan updated.
Okay.
But it was unanimous. Each planning commissioner said so.
So, Vice Chair Connor, am I correct in saying that the denial was not a denial of the merits of the proposal? It wasn't a referendum on Bay Point. It was more, we want to wait?
Yeah, we need to get an updated plan. We're getting a lot of public in on requests like this. So we need to get what the people want in the master plan.
Okay. Questions for Jim or Commissioner Connor? Start.
The recommendation from the Planning Commission, it should be based on the current master plan that's in place. You have to deal with what you have. The property owners base their requests to Planning Commission based on your current zoning and future land use map. So I'd like to see the Planning Commission make a decision based on the materials that they have in place. It could be 2 years until we have an updated master plan, and I think that's too long to make our property owners wait for their plans.
Sure. So as a Board of Commissioners, you have three options, essentially. You can accept the recommendation as submitted by the Planning Commission. You could ignore the recommendation by the Planning Commission and decide opposite, or you can send the request back to the Planning Commission for future consideration. And Commissioner Getty's comments would lead to that there is a little bit of a concern of using the master plan as a fallback for a denial, that if we get another request to come forward, it may hamper the ability for you as a board and our Planning Commission to fully look at it in its context. So it would be a recommendation perhaps for me to consider sending it back to the Planning Commission so they could decide based on the merits of the request and the site-specific details of the request to re-recommend to you a decision.
I have two questions. Is it the intention of the Planning Commission to recommend denial of all map changes until a new master plan is approved?
They didn't say that, but by using that as a request, it inherently creates that condition. If you were to consider another rezoning request and they were to recommend an approval of something, then it seems a little bit of an arbitrary decision to decide one is master plan based and one would not be.
Additional questions?
Yes. Who does your notes?
I did.
Good job. How long was this meeting?
3 hours.
3 hours, okay. I was going to say, very detailed for someone that does not have an extensive background on planning and zoning. That was enlightening and educational to read through all that. So this is a PUD planned?
No. Bay Point Woods is a PUD.
Okay.
The two properties that are being requested for rezoning are zoned rural residential and are not part of the plan unit development.
Okay.
And the request was to convert them to mixed use.
Okay. What year was Bay Point Woods approved?
2008, late 17, 18.
17, 18, okay. So is that commercial or is that mixed?
It's a rural residentially zoned property that has a PUD special use permit on top of it.
Bay Point Woods or Bay Point?
Bay Point Woods.
Bay Point Woods has a PUD.
Plan unit development.
Plan unit development, okay. And I've heard reference to the master plan in several comments. This is in an urban growth area.
It is.
The urban growth area extends all the way up to Wildwood, correct?
That's correct.
Can you give me a definition of urban growth area?
Well, what we did in the master plan is we defined 5 areas that were the highest density or most intensive uses that would be defined as urban growth areas. That was the city of Hastings and its surrounding environs, the village of Middleville. Dave, do you have that map that you might want to put up?
That land use?
Yeah. The village of Middleville, the village of Nashville and its surrounding environs, Delton and its surrounding areas, and Gun Lake. The criteria for an urban area had to be, you had to have some level of utility, so sewer, water if preferable, and a state highway had to be somewhere within that urban planning area. And within that, when you set up these zones, you want to define urban planning areas compared to some others. This is going to be the area where you want to have the most intense or dense residential developments, if appropriate, industrial types of developments, commercially based developments, because if you have the utilities to support it and the traffic and the network of infrastructure, then the higher density uses can be supported. As opposed to, say, a village like Freeport or Woodland, which we want certain levels of use, but not everything. So they're village designations.
Okay. I guess, and maybe it's a question for the Planning Commission, but when they've approved this mixed-use rural residential PUD for Bay Point Woods, he's got 2 other parcels. Are those parcels bigger or smaller than the current piece?
Individually, they're smaller. Together, they're about the same size. But the 2 properties where the rezoning is requested does have an extensive wetland on it, so the land area is a little bit smaller.
That's what it looked like. There was a pretty considerable piece of wetland in there. So they couldn't necessarily double the size of Bay Point Woods with those 2 parcels.
Oh, no.
Okay. And it appears, I guess, when you've already when they've already approved the first piece of that, the second piece is already there. I'm not sure that I understand the decision making as far as why the unilateral denial or consensus on that, other than what I've read in the notes about that being tied to the master plan. And where is the master plan right now? What stage are you in the development of that?
No, basically, we've been authorized funding. We hope to get started this fall. The COVID situation put us back at least the year and a half, and we weren't able to meet appropriately. Many of the consultants during that frame were not coming anywhere in person. And the struggle we have as a county level document is you want to have the ability that everybody who wants to be involved in the process can be. We have a lot of our county that is not adequately served by broadband. We found that having planning commissions on the Zoom meeting when we were able to do so were challenging, if not problematic. Several of our planning commissioners don't have adequate broadband. So to try to do a high-level plan in that capacity just didn't seem to make any sense. It would have wasted a lot of time. So we hope to get started this fall, and really you anticipate that it's an 18-month to 24-month process to do the whole thing. And then once that's done, then you could start looking at the zoning process as well.
Okay, so currently Bay Point Woods is an urban growth area. It's an area that they anticipated was going to have rapid growth. Gun Lake.
I think that's how they approved the special use initially, yes.
Okay. There's no master plan in place right now, but it was
Oh,
cited.
there is a master plan in place.
Oh,
We have the one from 2000.
the new master plan.
There's nothing that's in process for updating it yet.
Okay. How many rezoning requests do you get on a yearly basis? I mean, on an average year?
2 to 3.
2 to 3, okay. Is this the first one?
No, we had the one previous that was in Irving Township. We did a couple of months ago that was a conversion from conservation reserve to rural residential, so that 7 houses could be built.
Okay. I guess based on what I'm seeing is I kind of agree with Commissioner Getty's thought there that I would not support a denial on this. I think it needs to be reconsidered, unless you have other thoughts on that. But I think essentially with that decision being made, we've put every rezoning request until the new master plan is completed on hold if we don't. Is that correct?
That's a concern, yeah. I think that's a
mean, you can't
legitimate
approve-
concern, and it would be prudent, I think, for the Board of Commissioners to ask for site-specific reasons for either approving or denying the request.
Okay. All right. That's been very helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Other questions? Commissioner Smelker.
I was just going to ask if I need to change my motion, seeing there's one on the floor.
Well, it depends on what you want to change your motion to.
I think it should be reverted back to the Planning Commission.
I will second that if you're making that motion.
Motion by Smelker, supported by Connor, to recommend to the Board of Commissioners submitting map change A2 2021 to the Planning Commission for reconsideration. Without objection, this will supersede the previous motion. Hearing no objection, the motion is replaced. Discussion. Does the Board of Commissioners need to deny this as well?
They don't. They can just immediately send it back, I think. The approval process is pretty clear in the statute. If you don't approve it, your other two choices are...
So by sending it back, we are denying it?
Correct.
Okay. Any further discussion? Good questions today. Hearing none, the question for the committee is to recommend to the Board of Commissioners submitting map change A2 of 2021 to the Planning Commission for reconsideration. Any discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Campbell.
Aye.
Connor.
Aye.
Getty.
Aye.
Gibson.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Smelker.
Aye.
Geiger.
Aye. The item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you. How we doing? Need a break?
Sure.
All right. If there's no objection, the board will...
We only have one more item to go through. It's pretty short, isn't it?
All right, we can do the next item.
You don't have to stay. We're not offended if you leave.
At this time, the chair would entertain a motion to recommend to the Board of Commissioners ratification of the chairperson's reappointment of Brendan Child to the Berry County Officers Compensation Commission for a 4-year term that begins on October 1st, 2021 and expires on September 30th, 2025.
I'll make that motion.
Support, Jackson.
That motion is made by Gibson, supported by Jackson. Discussion. So a few years ago, we created the County Officers Compensation Commission, which is a group of citizens not associated with the government that determines what makes a determination what the salaries of the county officials would be. Brenda has been an admirable and terrific appointee. All of them have. This is a great working group, and she has expressed the desire to continue serving. So is there any questions or comments? Hearing none, the...
Motion in?
Yep. You got a motion?
Sure.
Hearing none, we know the question? We know the question. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. That is approved.
Once you do your public comment, you'll be done with the sheet.
Yep. Remember, we have another meeting after this. Limited public comment. At this time, any member of the public wishing to address the committee may do so for up to 3 minutes. Hearing none, there being no further business before the committee will now adjourn.
5-minute break?
5.
5-minute break.
Okay.